Hello, everyone, and welcome. I'm David Christensen, Chair of the Department of Chemistry. And as I'm fond of saying, whoever you are and wherever you are on your journey of chemical scholarship, you are welcome here in Penn Chemistry. And it's delightful to say that after the many months, the 15 or so months that we have been away from Penn Chemistry. And now in this emerging from the pandemic, it's so nice to see everyone together, or a good fraction of us together again. A couple of housekeeping issues to take care of. We've asked, since this is such a relatively large gathering, that everyone wear masks. Thank you for wearing your masks. The speakers can take your masks off when you're at the podium, and then put them back on when you're seated. And also, let me also point out for those of you that might want to be aware of this, we will have a recording of this event available through the Penn Chemistry website. So that we will be able to share today's festivities with those who cannot be with us here in person today. They'll be able to view at any time on the web. As we are emerging from the pandemic, this is a time for new beginnings, really, in Penn Chemistry. And as we reimagine what Penn Chemistry is going to be in the coming years, as we become the post-pandemic Penn Chemistry, one of the issues that we have discussed before in the pre-pandemic times was the departmental portraiture, and how can we revise and expand on our departmental portraiture to be more reflective of the diversity of Penn Chemistry, our students, our staff, our faculty. And as the first step, and this is just the first step in revising the departmental portraiture, we have taken down the portrait of Mr. Harrison that used to be behind me. And as you all know, we have decided to erect a portrait of Professor Madeleine Joullié. And we're very excited about this because Madeleine has been a trailblazer, a pioneer, not only in Penn Chemistry, but also in the university at large, and indeed in the chemical enterprise at large. And I know we'll hear a little bit more about Madeleine's accomplishments that we are honoring today from Professor Smith when he speaks. So for now, welcome once again, and let me turn the podium over to Professor David Brainerd, Associate Dean of the Natural Sciences. David.
Well, thanks very much for inviting me to this wonderful event. I'll try to keep my remarks fairly brief. I will start by saying that, as it happens, this is the first university in-person event I've been at for 15 months, and it's just wonderful, even with the mask, to see people in person. I recognize a number of colleagues and acquaintances, and it's just great, and I hope this is the first of many more such events as we return toward normal, I hope toward normal, emerging from the pandemic. It's really been an extraordinary 15 months, and I think I'd be remiss if I didn't convey from the Dean's office our appreciation for all the amazing and extremely hard work everyone here and across the school and university have done to keep our teaching and research missions moving forward during extraordinary, unprecedented, and very difficult circumstances. It's much appreciated. David opened by saying that wherever we were on our chemistry journey, we were welcome here, and I'll confess that I'm probably less far along on that journey than anyone else here, and know less about chemistry. So it's a little bit of a challenge, Madeleine, for me to talk in detail about your many accomplishments. But stepping back a little bit from the details of chemistry and looking over your career, one thing I was very impressed by was not only the large range of basic science accomplishments, but also that you've consistently connected your work to what I'll call real-world applications that I think have helped make the world a better place. I note that these include developing and being involved with treatments for cancer and other tumors, for using your knowledge of chemistry to improve techniques for lifting fingerprints, and most recently, thinking about factors that influence vaping behavior on e-cigarettes. And as my graduate advisor once said to me, the ability to translate basic science to make things work better is just one of the clearest markers of a deep understanding and knowledge. So that was very impressive to me. Beyond your research, it's also, I think, important for this group, and probably most of you are aware of this, to highlight Madeleine's many accomplishments outside of the lab. These include a superb teaching, which has been recognized by the Lindback Award here at Penn, extensive student mentoring, authoring textbooks that convey knowledge to a next generation, service in editorial and grant review positions, and I think most notably extensive advocacy and hard work to reduce barriers that face women in science and at the university more generally, and to engage in outreach activities that have encouraged women to pursue careers in science. So with that, really congratulations on your highly successful career, which we're celebrating today through the addition of your portrait here to the walls of Penn Chemistry.
Okay, and now let me introduce Professor Jeff Winkler, who will make some remarks and share the next bit of the session. Jeff.
So it's a real honor to celebrate my colleague Madeleine Joullié. And I was wondering how to sum up what Madeleine has been for us, and it's almost impossible. But one thing that came to mind was trying to imagine what Madeleine's experience was like coming into the chemistry department here for the first time. That happened before I was born, right? That happened in the early 1950s. The number of women who were here were tiny, and I imagine this absolute dynamo coming into the building, not that far from Brazil, having spent her undergraduate time at Simmons College, where she presumably demolished everybody. That is, her enthusiasm and passion for science and for chemistry must have been light years beyond anything they'd experienced up to that point, or presumably anything that they'd seen since. So Madeleine comes to Penn. There are basically no women here. Madeleine doesn't care, finds a mentor who is an incredible shepherd of her intellectual journey and really sets her off on her path. To say that what she's experienced, what she's witnessed over these decades has been extraordinary really belies her role, because we know that she wasn't a witness at all. She was really an active participant and an active force in bringing about these legion changes that have occurred in the department and really in the larger chemical community. One of the things that's always inspired me is to see these scientists, female scientists, come to visit the chemistry department, you know, members of the National Academy, National Medal of Science winners, and to experience them speaking so reverentially of the role that Madeleine has played in their lives. It shouldn't really come as a great surprise, because the fact is that's what she's done in all of our lives. When I think of the role that Madeleine Joullié has played in my life, I think of it on two planes. I think first on the personal plane of what an exemplar she's been for us of personal integrity, of what it really means to be a person of your word, to be a person with ethical standards, to be uncompromising in your unwillingness to expect anything less than people's best. And she's been such an incredible beacon for all of us in that regard. And I think that the way that she's done that and her refusal to accept nonsense from anybody, me very much included, has been absolutely pivotal in the role that she's played in all of our lives. The other thing that I think is just amazing beyond the personal plane is the professional plane. I have the privilege of having weekly research meetings with Professor Joullié, and the ongoing passion and dedication and commitment that she has to her science is the stuff of legend, is flabbergasting. How this person can still feel such unbridled passion about what she does, such a deep commitment to understanding things at their most profound level, and this extraordinary generosity in sharing her insights. And I think that's been incredible. As I think about Madeleine, I can't help but think of how much she hates this, how much she hates the idea of being celebrated. And yet I think about two people who would have so wanted to be here to celebrate with her. And one of them is certainly her husband, Richard. Richard, who was the most unassuming person in the world, was somebody who so celebrated Madeleine's genius, so supported it and so appreciated it. And I think if he were to be here and have the opportunity to see how she was being recognized this way, he would just swell with pride. And the other person that I think of is Ralph Hirschman. Ralph Hirschman, who I was always insanely jealous of because he and Madeleine were so close, sharing a secretary and sharing their offices next to each other. These people who found each other relatively late in life and yet were so totally intertwined in their respect and caring for each other. And Ralph would have been so pleased to see Madeleine recognized in this way. So on behalf of them and their memories, I'm just delighted to have been able to celebrate you this way. Thank you so much. And now I'd like to call on my colleague, Amos Smith.
Well, it is a deep honor and pleasure to be here to honor our colleague, Madeleine Joullié. When I looked over the list of speakers, and in fact, when I look over all of you, it became a moment that I realized that I have known Madeleine more years than any of you. Some at least 39 years since I first came here to Penn, but in fact, I actually got to know Madeleine a little bit sooner than that when I happened to be taking a course at Columbia with Gilbert Stork, also one of Madeleine's most favorite persons. There was this very attractive, this was 1968 if I remember correctly, young lady sitting in the back row with high boots, short skirt, who I quickly learned was in fact Madeleine Joullié, who was there on a sabbatical. And so that was my actual first interaction with Madeleine. I then had the opportunity to interact with her at several Gordon conferences where we enjoyed not only chemistry, but the socialism of interacting, and also, I must say, a few drinks probably together. So that then passed, and it was then 1973 that I first came here on an interview and had the pleasure of meeting Madeleine again, knowing, of course, her chemistry because we had overlapped in our chemistry, my chemistry and hers, on photochemistry, other areas. And it was immediately clear that she conveyed to me what an exciting place Penn is and could be for a young person. Fortunately, I didn't screw it up. I actually got an offer to come here, and ever since then, Madeleine Joullié has been my mentor, scientific, emotional, and all other possible ways. In particular, she has taught me how to lecture in a large course and do that with enthusiasm and to have the students not react too badly over the course of the semester. She has also read a number of my proposals and has been very kind to criticize them kindly, but in a forceful manner that I recognized that I better make some improvements or I would be doomed to that venture. So Madeleine, it is a great honor to be here and to see you unveil what I am told is an absolutely spectacular photo and also some information about your career here at Penn. Thank you all for the invitation to be here.
And now, one of the things that we have is the privilege of having two of alumni of the Joullié group to represent the many, many graduate students, postdocs, and undergraduates who have been through the lab. And the first one that I'd like to introduce is Diane House.
So thank you very much. It's an honor and a privilege to be here. Since this is an unveiling, this is a wonderful time to tell you a story about Madeleine. I was a graduate student of Madeleine. She took me to conferences, we traveled, had me stay at Richard, her husband's house in Washington several times for conferences. Of course, went through the thesis, went through research, kept in touch with her over the years. And we all know how Madeleine came to the United States for her bachelor's degree. But what you probably don't appreciate it, and what I didn't appreciate, was that Madeleine grew up as a young girl speaking French with her family, learning Portuguese in Brazil, which was part of the culture there. Very sheltered, she said. Her father kept a close eye on her. Her mother was very proper. So when she was 18 and graduated from high school, her father was a businessman who had traveled and said, "Madeleine, you're too sheltered. You need to see the world. You need some outside experience." Her father had never been to the United States. He asked some of his business colleagues where would be a good school to send my daughter. So at the time, she related that the GI Bill was in progress. Most of the co-ed schools were full. So Madeleine ended up in Simmons College at 18, not speaking the language, coming to Boston on her own. So she spent that first summer learning English at Wellesley, staying in the international dormitory because Simmons' dorm was full at the time. And in 3 years, 1949, she graduated from Simmons with her bachelor's in chemistry. So at that point, she decided, well, she knew something about chemistry, she really enjoyed it, but she didn't feel like she had really learned enough. So she asked the people at Simmons, well, I would like to pursue some graduate studies, where should I go? They recommended a few schools, among them Haverford College, not quite realizing that that was a boys' school at the time. So Madeleine, again, knew someone who was teaching at MIT and suggested, why don't you look at the University of Pennsylvania in Philadelphia? So Madeleine arranged to come to Philadelphia and thought, well, maybe I should look at some other schools. And fortunately for all of us, she did not have a good impression of Bryn Mawr on her first visit. But when she came to Penn, she somehow, I guess, was wandering around, came upon the chemistry building and her mentor, Alan Day. And the story goes on, and he took her on, and she excelled And he pestered her enough to finally teach, much to our joy, and has continued that for many years. So the irony here is that this young girl, born in France, raised in Brazil, reading about Marie Curie, Eleanor Roosevelt, Benjamin Franklin, who were her people she admired when she was growing up. She came to the university founded by Benjamin Franklin to teach for over 70 years. So we are very fortunate that everything worked out as it did, and congratulations on many years, and thank you very much for your time and effort.
And the other alumni that we're going to hear from is James Tarver, who's certainly no stranger to this department.
Good afternoon, everyone. I've learned through my time being here that from Amos that it's good to have notes. So today I'm going to have some notes so I don't lose my train of thought about what I'd like to say about Madeleine. It's always good to return to Penn Chemistry as it brings back fond memories. I was just thinking that it's 25 years almost since the first time I came here as a graduate student. But I'm particularly happy today to share a few kind words about a role model and a friend. I'm humbled to speak about Professor Joullié, who goes by many names, also known as the boss, also known as Madeleine to many. Given my entry point in her tenure, I'm humbled. But as has been shared by my colleagues, we could wax nostalgic about Madeleine's accomplishments for hours, days in fact. Her scientific accomplishments, her humanitarian accomplishments and awards. She's clearly a brilliant and highly decorated scientist, chemist, and an amazing mentor. Madeleine was a trailblazer at Penn, and she has exemplified what it means to be an academic: rugged, independence, individual thought and creativity, collaboration, and exceptional scholarly merit. Even when the aspirational values of the academy contradicted themselves regarding the concept of a meritocracy. Her amazing tale of resilience in the face of discrimination and sexist trappings of a traditional social paradigm is no less than incredible. She's been a flag bearer for this department and the institution, and really for the chemical enterprise, and should be heralded as one for generations to come. So it's truly fitting to honor her with this placeholder in the department, as she has been essential to its fabric. I'm honored to be able to share this moment with you and the department. Congratulations, Madeleine. Well deserved.
All right, I'd like to introduce the president of the Women in Chemistry Plus organization in Penn Chemistry, Paris Watson.
Thank you for letting me speak today. Within Women in Chemistry, we aim to provide a welcoming environment for gender minorities within the chemistry department and allow them a place to grow both personally and in their professional environment. Over the years, Professor Joullié has been incredibly generous towards our group, attending functions such as our lunch with female faculty and providing us with financial support that allowed us to carry out our Women in STEM Conference Day. She has been a role model for many women and in this department and beyond for a long time, including at the start when she was the first person to be here. Because of her work, we are inspired to provide mentorship avenues for women and gender minorities and work as she does to advocate for and recognize the accomplishments of gender minorities. We would like to continue her legacy and ensure that women are given every avenue they can to succeed and able to self-advocate for themselves.
And now I would like to reintroduce to you the first woman to be hired and tenured in an Ivy League chemistry department, a woman who has truly made the history here in Penn Chemistry, Professor Madeleine Joullié.
Thank you very much for such a great honor. And I've spent most of my life studying chemistry and in this great department. Yes, okay. All right, so that has been my life, working in chemistry and working in this great institution. I hope the portrait will continue this interest in both the chemistry and also in promoting this institution. I hope that the portrait will inspire women in all science to continue to work in science. And it's interesting is that we are all a product of our environment. I have been very lucky in my environment, both in family, husband, and mentor, but more importantly, I want to acknowledge all my colleagues, all of them in this department, that were always supportive, to all my students that were always wonderful, honest, and never shy about telling me when I was wrong sometimes, but it's very, very important. And of course, the staff of this department, who make every day not only possible, but pleasant. And I remember all of them. Of course, it's been a long time, but you never forget people because they are what they make you. You really are part of your environment, and so you should thank everybody you've been in contact with. They're part of your life, and they should never be forgotten. And of course, they should, if possible, share this honor, which I think is just not for me, but for all the people at this institution that I've been in contact with. That even goes for administrators. I mean, everybody here has always made my life the best possible, and I'm thankful for it. So thank you, everybody, and I hope things will continue, and I hope all of you will make Penn a better place every day that goes by.
Thank you.
I have to put it back on.
Well, if you like, you can keep it off while you
No.
unveil the portrait.
Yeah, well,
So
I
I'm told
prefer to breathe.
if you just take that corner there and tug on it, I'm told that will do the trick.
One.
Well, hold on. Yeah, the corner.
The corner.
Yeah. Here, here.
Pull it.
Yep. And if you give it a little tug,
This way?
Chris, straight down. Just pull straight down, like you're. Yeah, there we are. And with that, thank you all for attending. Please extend your greetings to Madeleine. The meeting is adjourned.